This is cherry blossom. Uh, it comes from the Smithsonian, and it says cherry blossom on it. This little toy belongs to one of my granddaughters, and she got it on a trip to Washington, D.C., and it's one of her favorite toys. The little panda came with a little dress, but she's played with it so much that the dress has disintegrated, and she asked Grandma to please make a new dress for Cherry Blossom. She has a little pair of PJs and a little like this. These were really designed for a doll and not a stuffed toy. And she even has a little blanket, and she plays with it quite frequently. Now, I could just whip together some little quick item, and it dawned on me. I said, you know, I'm not a young woman anymore, and I won't always be able to make these little clothes for my granddaughters. And I probably really should put a little bit of extra time and effort into it and make it last. Because I have an idea that Cherry Blossom will be around for a long time. It might even sit on a college dorm room desk, for all I know. Anyway, so we're going to make something for Cherry Blossom. So I went through my scraps, and I have lots and lots of scraps suitable, but I wanted something kind of fancy for Cherry Blossom, so I found this little dotted organza, I guess is what it is, and then some rather silky flocked fabric. It's got pink in it. Cherry blossoms are pink. So I've decided to use this. Now, the question is, how do you go about making a pattern for a little panda? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the panda. She's obviously bigger around in the back than she is in the front. And we want it to maybe sleeveless. We don't need to put sleeves on it. It'll be a cute little dress. We want it to kind of flare out, so when she sits, it sits about right here on her. We may or may not make a pair of panties for her. Not too sure about that yet. Anyway, so we need to make a pattern for her and decide exactly how we're going to make this. And if you look at her, she's really short here, but big around the back. And we want it to fit her nicely, and we want it to fit around her little neck. This is not a stretch fabric, so we're not going to pull it over her head. So we'll leave it open in the back and put a couple of snaps on it. Simple enough. Let's get going. I pulled the inner page out of a little catalog that I'm going to pitch. And I'm going to use it. I'm going to line up the middle, and I'm going to see how much of a neckline we need. And we're going to basically cut the neckline. It's going to be a very shallow neckline. Now, maybe we got it. I'm going to cut the back up like this. I use this instead of my fabric because I hate to throw my fabric away. Anyway, let's see how this is going to work. Now, we need to round that neckline a little bit more, and I'm tearing my paper, aren't I? Okay, let's round that neckline because the back is just a little bit. If I don't get the sides quite even, I will make them even before I cut the fabric out. Okay, we got this much of it. Now, that'll go around her with a little bit left in the back. Her arms kind of come out straight. All right, now we're going to fit the front. We're going to line that seam up, and we're going to decide how much we need to take off. A very careful not to cut the little dolly. Now let's see how much we took off here. We're going to even that one up. All right, and we'll even these up too while we're at it. But she's bigger in the back than she is in the front, so we need a little more room in the back than we do in the front. Alrighty. Okay. There she goes. Oops, oops. There we are. Probably coming in the back. Now. There we go. There we go. That should be for the front. But we don't really want much in the way of sleeves, but I'm not going to cut these off yet because I don't want to lose that strength. So we're just going to fold them up a little bit, like that. Because I don't want the neckline to tear. All right, that's about right. That's about right. Now we're going to line her back side up and decide how much we need. We need about that much. And we're going to cut the rest of the sleeve off here. Well, it did look like we kind of got the same on both sides, didn't we? All right, now we're going to put this together and we're going to finish it off. If I need a little more room in the back, I can always make it there. Oh, that was straightforward, wasn't it? All right, let's see what we got here. Not much of a pattern here, but we got a little bit of a pattern. We need to take a little bit off the front, maybe. We got a little too much looseness here. And I think we got enough to cover her in the back. Now, let's straighten these little sleeves up here. What we want here is we want a little push in like that. Now, we got it. We're going to even it up. And even it up all of the way. Now we've folded it in half and we've gotten it pretty well even this way and this way. Simple little pattern over the shoulders, and it should work out. Let's see. Simple little bodice, and we got enough in the back. Okay, let's cut that out. I'll cut that out and we'll be right back. Okay, so I've gotten the little piece cut out here, and this is kind of hard to tell which is the front and which is the back, but this is the inside, the right side. So we're going to pin it on her and see how it fits, and if we need to make any additional adjustments. While I was cutting, I gave myself some seam allowances here. And I can take as much seam allowance as I need on this. There we go. How are we coming in the back? Ooh, we need to loosen that a little bit. Now, I'm going to cut off a lot of this bodice. I just made it nice and long to start with so that I can adjust it as needed. Okay. There we go. We come across here in the front, and there we've got our little outfit. Okay. Now, I'm going to take this to the serger, and I'm going to serge every last seam on this, every last piece on this because this is will ravel very easily. On this right here, I think I'm just going to probably turn it under and call it a sleeve. On the neck, the same way. I'm not going to get fancy until I get to her little skirt, and I'll put this as an overlayment on the skirt. I will do that and be right back. I've serged everything. It looks okay. I wish I'd have checked this right here first. I got the flowers upside down, but maybe I'll put something there. And anyway, the bodice is only going to be about right there. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to very carefully make sure I decide which is the inside and the outside. This is the outside. I'm going to turn under the little sleeves right at that serge point and then stitch them very carefully right just enough to catch the serge. And I think I'm going to do it from the inside to make sure I catch that serged edge. Just like this. And I'm going to stitch it. Now let's see how those sleeves work. Okay, here we go. There we are. Like that. Very neatly done, Joyce. All right. Now, we need to get the neckline done the same way. And I'll do that. When we come to this curve, we're going to have to be really careful, though, that we do not pucker it. And you might want to pin the curve before you start so that it doesn't roll on you as you're doing it, so that it's eased evenly on both sides and not just on one side. Now we're going to stitch. All right, let's check it. We got our little bodice coming here nicely. I'm going to pin it in the back so I know how much to take in on those side seams. I'm going to put snaps back here, but I would like a little bit of an overlap. So when I do the side seams, I just need a little bit there. About like that. Let's try the other side. About like that. Okay, now let's do those side seams. You'll notice that I've got the front bodice a little bit shorter. We're going to shorten this bodice before we put the skirt on. Be sure to backstitch those seams. This is a child's toy. Except, of course, on the bottom where we're going to cut it off. All right. One little bodice with an opening big enough to get her arm in. Be sure to watch that if you're making a stuffed animal dress. Okay? And here we go. Now, how big do we want, where do we want her bodice to sit? We have enough room in the back to overlap. We could make a little long skirt, but I think I want a little short bodice. I don't want a real long one. I think I want it about right there. I'm going to put a pin there, and we're going to measure that all the way around. Make sure we get it the same. Okay, now we need to figure out how much fabric we need for her skirt. The easiest way to do this is just to grab a tape measure, and let me get my measure. If we want the little skirt to come out, we're just going to make a loop about the size of what we want our skirt to flounce out to. Okay. The easiest way to decide how long we need to make our length for our skirt is to just take a tape measure and decide where you want that little skirt edge to come. And in this case, that would be quite sufficient. And let's see how long that was. Let's call it 24 inches. So I'm going to cut a piece 24 inches. Now, how far do I want it to come out? Okay, in other words, come from her bodice out. And in this case, I think probably about 3.5 inches. Give yourself a 1/2 inch for a hem and a 1/2 inch for a seam allowance. And let's see where it'll be. Okay. If I want it 3 inches, I'd probably better cut a 4-inch piece. Okay. So I'm going to cut a 24 by 4-inch rectangle to make the skirt. And I'm going to do it with both of the fabrics because I'm going to put this little fabric as an overlay on it. I'll do that and I'll be right back.